Hey, I'm Chef D. Not only do I love serving food, I love being around a table. I love a great conversation, and I love finding out more about people. What makes them who they are? So join me at the kitchen table with me, Chef D. Welcome to At the Kitchen Table with me, Chef D, and a very amazing guest, Dave Carrol. I like to refer to him as my spiritual guru. That just came out when I was thinking about this today. You know,
well, it feels nice to be a guru. You know,
Dave Carrol, TV personality. You are the lead pastor at the church we attend, Freedom House. You also have a podcast, Two Wise Fools, with a real cool dude from out west. Has some amazing stories, and you guys make me laugh on a regular basis. A fellow Bruce Springsteen fan. And yeah, so welcome.
Chef D, I can't believe I'm getting to do a podcast with my favorite chef. Like I many years ago. So, okay, when I've one of my longtime favorite jokes that I would make is that I've always wanted to be on a cooking show because I always figured that every good cooking show needed an expert and a nitwit. Because when I was growing up, that was the Letterman theory. He would always have chefs on, and like some of the finest chefs in the world, and then he would ask the most nitwit questions that you could find, and often he would grab their bottle of booze and start going at it. And I thought, this is the perfect recipe. And I thought, but who would ever let me on as their nitwit? And then I met you, and I said, could I be your nitwit? And you have allowed me on a number of occasions to be the nitwit around an expert making things that I could only dream of doing. You fulfilled my food show dreams.
Well, you know, and you were kind of alike because there's a comfort food that you like, peanut butter and banana on a wrap, and you know that there's nothing wrong with that, you know? Well, I like crunchy peanut butter more than I like smoothie, but that's a whole nother debate.
Yeah, we still get along. I mean, you don't have to be right. You don't have to be right all the time. So
wow. It's, you know, and you know, friends, and I love what you said, and we've done some cooking together. You've done some really cool things as a church. And, you know, I always think, you know, breaking bread's important and getting in front of people. But you as a Freedom House has really made it a priority that love God, love others, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that shows in so many ways. And how did Freedom House get started?
So I guess for me, the journey to it started in 2000. So 23 years ago, my wife and I we were young punks, just married. We were doing missionary work in West Africa. And we were caught off guard by the kindness that we experienced, and started to really realize that Canadians as a people, we're not cold to each other, but we're also not in each other's lives on purpose like we maybe used to be as a culture. And so we came back to Canada, and we said, all right, what are we going to do with this? How are we going to see genuine, you know, tangible transformation in a city through our faith? And really decided, let's use kindness. Let's just say, there's a scripture in Romans 2:4 that says that the kindness of the Lord leads people to repentance, and kindness eventually, you know, we kind of whittled it down to kindness changes things. Like it does. Anytime you inject kindness into any sort of cultural concoction, it makes it better. And you can't always exactly tell what's going to happen, but you inject kindness in there, like in a recipe. You put some people don't like cilantro because you put cilantro in anything. And all of a sudden, some people go, all I can taste is cilantro in this thing, right? But to me, kindness has always been sort of like that. And we've always, by the way, I love cilantro. I'm pro cilantro. I'm all in on cilantro. But we just looked for as many different ways as we could to be able to go, how do we use kindness to be able to serve our city? How do we use kindness to be able to help our Parks and Rec department? How do we use kindness to be able to, like when we started Freedom House, we have bought an old bar in downtown Brantford. And I mean, literally people were turning tricks in our parking lot, and they were running drugs across the road. And we thought, how do we even, where do you even start? And we started with food. We started with a barbecue on the street in the middle of the night. And and on Friday nights for many, many years, we just gave away free burgers and hot dogs, and not even the good ones. Like, we didn't even go like I'm sure they were not ChefD stamp of approval level quality meat.
Yeah.
I know it wouldn't have been, but yep. You would have been mortified at the quality of meat, but it wasn't about the quality of it. All of a sudden, people started coming and sitting, and I remember once we would put high top tables out on the street. And we had a local politician sitting at a high top table with a local prostitute having a conversation about kindness. And I thought, this is great. And I bet you nobody wants a camera here for this, but it was wonderful. And it was just a kindness experiment that we've just continued and continued and continued.
And and I've been blessed to have a life that I can look back, because there's a lot of people that can't have that. But I also think, when I think about Jesus and I think about him eating at the table, that's a lot about it, right? He never judged. He would eat, and I think he would just sit and listen and pour love on the people around him.
And food and eating around a table has a way of equalizing each other. It has a way of, when you're sharing a meal with someone, it can sometimes normalize a difficult situation. It can calm nerves. It can bring the humanity of one another out. And even just over the course of the last little while during the Easter season, there's the after Jesus rose and he did a bunch of things and appeared to a few people, and then showed up to see his disciples, who were his friends. Like, we call them his disciples, and they were, but they were his friends. They were friends. And he's like, hey, it's me. I came back. And they said, nah, that's impossible. That doesn't happen like that. And he's like, hey, look at my nail scarred hands. And they're like, I still don't buy it. And what does Jesus do? He goes, hey, do you got any leftovers? And he asked for a piece of fish. And then they sat down together and had fish. And then they went, oh, so maybe you are Jesus. And it's one of my favorite parts of the whole story, because sitting down and having leftovers together and eating a meal calmed everyone to be able to go, all right, let's figure this out together. You're who again? Right? I just love that fish and leftovers played such a significant role.
No, 100%. And you've done some cool things, and I know you've been on my Christmas show, and your alter ego, Captain Kindness, and that type of thing. I love that part. And I think, when Trish and I first started kind of hanging out with you guys, that's what really attracted me to you folks, was that it was real. Like, there was no pomp and circumstance. It was something that you guys said you're going to do, and you put feet to it. And that was really cool. Making the pancakes, that was a great day.
We for a lot of years, things changed over COVID. I don't know if you remember that pandemic, but
no, what pandemic?
I could send you some news clippings if you want to relive it. But for a lot of years, we ran a festival in downtown Brantford called Frosty Fest, where at its peak we were probably seeing 15,000 people come into the downtown. And we only did it because we asked, like, how do we serve and encourage our Parks and Rec department? And we had Brantford had just built a public square, but they didn't have programming for it. And they asked, could you do a winter carnival? And we said, sure. And then we Googled, what is a winter carnival? Like, we said yes to doing it before we knew what it was or how to do it. And it was just a progressive thing where we just said, all right, let's do this. This is what the city needs. Let's do this. And one of our final years, I think right before the pandemic, when I guess it was maybe, I don't know if it was the last year pre-pandemic or not, but you and Trish came and it was like, it's cold, right? Like in the winter, and you came in your shorts and your sandals. And you're like, I want to go make pancakes in a blizzard. What should I put on? Shorts. Like, Oh, wait a second. This isn't just your shtick. It's your real world. You in the shorts. Like this is legit. This is a guy who's putting on shorts to flip pancakes in a blizzard. That's the chef you're dealing with here. They're podcasters. Yeah, yeah. But we just love it. Like it's like you don't have to put on a show. Just love people, serve people. It's doable.
It's really easy. When it comes down to it, it's really easy. So how did the podcast Two Wise Fools come about?
So we've been doing this now. I think we just did our 117th episode. I don't think we maybe have missed 1 week. So that's like 2.5 years or so. And so Aaron White and I, we met each other years ago serving on the national leadership team of 24/7 Prayer Canada, which is, and it's a 24/7 Prayers and international ministry. And we were on the team of the Canadian arm of it. And when we would meet together, he lives in the poorest postal code in the country. Used to work for Salvation Army and now pastors a church where he just cares for the people who are in probably the worst situation in Canada, and lives there on purpose with his lovely family. And when we would get together, we come from very different worlds. We have very different theology on a lot of different Christian things. We have very different politics. We have very different tastes in a lot of things, but he just makes me laugh and I make him laugh. And so for years we would be in prayer meetings, but people would have to tell us to just, you gotta shut up because we're trying to do something here. And you two are just trying to make each other giggle, like take it outside. And so for a lot of years on different ends of the country, something funny would happen on TV and we would just go back and forth on social media trying to one up each other, making each other laugh. Well, pandemic hit and laughter was in short supply. And one night we were sitting, other ends of the country, and we were just bantering back and forth on social media. And one of us said, this could be a podcast. We should do a podcast. And then I said, "Oh, what's a podcast?" And so we're like, "I don't even know what this is." So we listened to a few. We're like, "Yeah, we can probably do that." And then he just rose out. We could call it Two Wise Fools, and it could be mostly laughing with a few slices of wisdom and a side of Jesus. And we thought about it like for another 30 seconds and said, "Yeah, let's do this." And we figured it out. And so like we record our podcasts on every Monday. It's my day off. And I just realized I needed to take a day a week and devote it to laughing. Like it's one of my favorite parts of every week is just scheduling a face-to-face time where, online we stare at each other, we throw up some topics, we just, volley it in the air, and then we just kind of bat it around and try and make each other laugh. And there ends up being usually some poignant stuff that comes out of it, but just a lot of playing around, and that's why people like it, because it's like you guys genuinely enjoy laughing with each other. And so it's been a blast to do every week.
And like I said, I've listened to it. You keep me entertained and all that. So not only
you're one of our first guests. Yeah, you're one of our first special guests. And I believe the clip that we used on the internet was I said the statement that roast beef is just an excuse to eat horseradish. And we've got a clip of you going, "No, it's not."
Okay, I can do that clip again. No, it's not.
It's a wonder this man enjoys spending time around me. I'm a peanut butter burritos and horseradish with a fork.
I just lost my train of thought.
Just a spoonful of horseradish.
Not only do you have a podcast, not only are you a pastor of a church, but you also are on a Rogers show in Brantford.
Yep.
And it's kind of it's a talk show.
Yeah.
I hope you guys can edit this part out because I'm just stumbling. No, but you've done that for a while as well, right?
Yeah. I've done stuff on our local Rogers cable off and on since literally I was 18 years old, and they gave me a when I was 18, a buddy of mine in high school. Yeah, he was doing a co-op project there, and his main project was, hey, to run a show, and he thought I was funny, and he goes, hey, do you want to have a show on TV called the Dave Carrol Show where you can pretend to be Dave Letterman and Johnny Carson? And I said, well, yeah, of course I do. And they gave me my own talk show, and I thought, is this a real thing? Do you have there's a station that you can just do shows on? And so off and on over the years, I used to do the news there, and a bunch of different things I've done. But in the last, I think it's probably been 5 or 6 years, I have been the host of Brant Life, which is like the community access talk show.
Right.
And weekly show, I think, that airs now on all the Rogers stations are all one now. So I believe it airs in KW and Guelph and some of the different places. But yeah, I've got a fake living room that I invite people into every week, and get to sit down with and always say it's interesting people talking about interesting things, and it's fascinating to hear inside a community, who the people are, like who are the people in your neighborhood song.
Yeah, that's
what the show is. It's people in the neighborhood, in the city, and these talking about the things that they care about. And we've had everyone from magicians to, we had one guy who tried to get me to hold a spider, didn't work. To people talking about their charity, motorcycle rides, and it's a blast. And I believe you've been a guest on, and we've cooked in the studio in the makeshift Rogers Cable Kitchen.
I think we've the best part of this whole, like, I didn't have to cook the one time I came on. We actually talked. You had me on in the studio just to talk, and that was like after and for those of you who don't, I've done 140 TV shows, and we do a lot of the cooking shows around with other stations, and I just love that we actually got to sit down and chat, because I don't ever get to always talk about one politics or two, that type of thing, and I truly enjoyed that part of it. And then of course being at Crown Verde, and you and Stacey Bester, and Stacey, for those of you who don't know, and you will know Stacey because I'm going to have her on as well, amazing lady. Like you go around Stacey and you just want to laugh, right? She owns Sweet Occasion Bakery in Brantford, makes the best buttercream cookie in the world. And then you had her on, and for your Christmas special, I was eating cookies, before our thing. I kept coming on and interrupting you guys because I wanted more cookies. But yeah, just she's a great lady, and But when we were you came on, and you ate mushrooms, and you hate mushrooms.
Yeah, I didn't know you all that well enough to tell you that I can't stand mushrooms. And the first thing is, look at these big, beautiful mushrooms. Dave, I'm going to fry these up in horseradish, and then you're going to eat them and smile, or whatever. I don't think it was horseradish, but I was a trooper that day. I ate mushrooms you on live TV. I'm like, wow, what a delight.
And then I think one of the special times that we got to have and share with you and bring it back to the table was when you, Chrissy, Stacey, and her husband, and Trish and I got to have dinner at one of the establishments we were running at the time, and two of our chefs got to kind of come out of their shoes, as it were, and just bring different foods out for different times. And I think that was a really cool experience for all of us, because it really got to. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying it was very special, and I mean for me, and I've joked about my low level of culinary discernment, but really, it's fun because I got to step into a different world, like the kind of. That's one of the things that your chef Darnell, he was preparing stuff for us that night, and he would come and talk about like where things were foraged from and what the differences were between this and that and the other, and it was wonderful. I'm like, it's really neat to be able to know people with different passions and different specialties, and it's a special thing when you get to be part of a different universe like you go, wow, this is really, the world is a pretty lovely, beautiful place. And when I hear people like yourself and Chef Darnell and other people who really know what they're talking about when it comes to food, it's like unlocking a new little world, and I get to see an extra reason why I think creation is just, beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've always liked it, and I love having conversations. And I think sometimes we get so busy that it just in whatever, that's not a criticism. I just think sometimes our lives are busy, and when we can sit down with friends and just share a meal, like it just seems like the walls go down. Your day, whether good, bad, or ugly, that doesn't matter. You just get to spend some time with some cool friends and talk about it, whether it be some baseball or hockey, or, as I mentioned at the top, we're Springsteen fans, or talk music, and just share that, and also share the experience of something real cool that somebody's pouring their heart out in, and it doesn't have to be a chef's dinner. It could just be, you could go anywhere,
I'm sure you do, but do you remember Pasquale, the singing chef?
Yes, I do.
I mean, there was from another age of Canadian cooking shows, but Pasquale, I don't know anything about him. I just remember the joy that he had. He would sing opera as he cooked Italian food, and then at the end he would serve the dinner. He goes, it's a thing of the thing, my friends. And it was like, this guy loved every second of that. I used to watch it. I didn't understand barely a word of what he was saying, but you could tell he was in the zone. He was loving it. He was singing and cooking, and there was just joy radiating off of Pasquale, and it was great.
And that big
that show.
pan he had to do his pasta, and like he's doing it with two hands to turn it. Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. For those, Google it out. I'm sure there's old YouTube episodes of it, type thing. And he was one of the guys. You look at for my era was Julia Child and Graham Kerr. Yep. The Galloping Gourmet was, and part of who I am today is because I saw that Graham Kerr episode where he was talking about chicken coq au vin, and I went, that's what I want to do. That's a passion I want to have. That's the experience that I want people to feel with it, that they get all this great food out and taste and all that. And yeah, it's amazing. And that brings up great menus, because now tonight I'm gonna go on YouTube and find some Pasquale episodes.
I want a Pasquale tribute episode coming from you. Yeah,
okay, I will do that. So going forward, we've just come out of a really crappy time. A time where kind of got divided a little bit, and pro-bat, all that type of stuff. Where do we go from here? Like, how do we bring people back? How do we, and maybe this is too deep, but I just think it's time, how do we get people back talking to each other?
I think you do it by talking to one another. And that might sound like a simple answer to the question, but I mean, I would say that the more people I talk to and kind of discuss that question with one another, I think that we have introvert or extrovert. I think we have a pretty low fuel tank right now as people. I think people are still coming out of this dark time, and I would say most new ideas that I'll throw out or suggest to people, they're like, gosh, I don't know. I'd really just love to eat together. Or let's go out. Let's go out for coffee again, and let's talk with each other again. And so I'm the head of our city ministerial network of the different churches and pastors coming together to serve the city. And I would say that our goal for the next year is just to eat together more, is to challenge each other to rekindle friendships, and to be able to meet together and go, hey, how are you? Tell me about life. I think honestly, Chef, the way that I see forward in the next small season is to do the small things again, is to remember what the small things are. Remember that the small things actually, in many ways, are the big things. I think people get very discouraged that we're not doing big things. You're not doing big things with your life. But honestly, I've seen more people discouraged to do small things because they don't think that they're doing enough with their life. Like, I thought I was going to have big plans. I had big ambitions, and how come I'm not doing the big stuff? And go, well, actually, the big stuff really just is the small stuff done over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the big things that have come out of my life over the years have just been by just doing the little things regularly and being committed to the little things. And so I think it's building relationships again. I think it's going out with people and finding someone who you haven't been out to dinner with in a while and going, hey, let's eat together. Let's have a coffee together. And I think we have to be careful to not count that as nothing and discouraging, because I think that we're dealing with a time where people are at home more, are lonelier, I think, than we once were. And I think that everybody is under encouraged all the time. And so small amounts of encouragement and choosing to be able to be with each other, even when we may not even feel like it, to me is a pathway to recovery as a culture.
Okay, so I want to be a fly on the wall. And when you have some of your ministry people, maybe we can have a small dinner for them at the place that you're renting for the kids, because I know it has a kitchen.
It's got a kitchen. It's got a kitchen.
And I know a guy. Yeah, awesome. No, that's amazing. And yes, I think even though people go to the office, that was a social time for them, And now that you can have the Zoom, like what we're having today, a Zoom call, or you can have a Zoom meeting, or you're only in the office once, you're not getting that social time. So yes, do pick up the phone, send a text and say, hey, we haven't been out for dinner, and let's get out for dinner. I love that idea.
In fact, some nights I'll just if I'm watching the Jays game or whatever, I'll just pick up my phone and go. I'll just wait to see who pops into my mind, and I'll just send them a "Hey, thinking about you" text, or just a little encouragement word. Like, we forget that we have the most powerful machine that has ever been sitting in our hands. To do this years ago, you would have had to train a pigeon for half of its lifetime, and roll a message up into those tiny little vials. How do you even get those things in those pigeon things? Right? And, hey, pigeon, go and tell Eddie that he needs to have a good day. You can do so much just with the phones that we have when it comes to encouraging each other. It's way easier than we remember that it is daily, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, my friend, like, our time is almost up. Like, this is great.
No, well, we did get to talk about Pasquale, so that's good. That's
it was good. No, I appreciate this, and doing this for the first time, it's exciting that you came on, and I really appreciate it. And I thank you for all the support you've given me through this time and this past time. And sooner than later, we got to get out for dinner.
Deal. Go and subscribe to Two Wise Fools wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. Please, yes. Two Wise Fools podcast. Check it out. Go back and see some of the old ones, because you guys talk about some really funny stuff. And
accidentally, we don't even know how it happens.
Well, it's a good thing. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk sooner than later. Okay.
Deal.
Thanks, man.